All right, today we are diving into a financial architecture that's built for something that sounds, well, almost impossible in today's world. Absolute, indestructible finality when you make a transaction. Let's get right into it.
So, just imagine for a second. What if every asset you owned wasn't just some number on a screen, but a totally sovereign instrument? Something fully insured, legally notarized, and powered by a kind of automated logic that makes its settlement completely unstoppable. This isn't just a hypothetical. It's the very problem this whole system is designed to solve.
To really wrap our heads around the solution here, we've got to start at the beginning. We need to get to the root of the problem it's trying to fix. And according to the source material, that problem starts with the very nature of paper money itself.
Now, what's so interesting about this slide is the worldview it lays out. It's a really stark hierarchy of assets. Down at the bottom, you've got paper fiat, which the source literally calls an IOU for slaves. Step up from that, and you find gold, the traditional asset for ladies and gentlemen. But right at the very top, silver, designated for kings and queens, not just because of its value, but for its industrial importance and what the source describes as its unique, resonant properties.
So why is settling a debt with, say, dollars considered irrational in this framework? Well, this slide breaks it all down. Fiat is literally designed to lose value over time. Its existence depends on a bank staying afloat, which is a massive counterparty risk. Plus, it's vulnerable to seizure, to bail-ins, to digital theft. Sound money, on the other hand, is presented as something totally different, self-contained, physical, and sovereign. The key takeaway here is that one is just a promise, while the other is the thing itself.
Okay, so if paper money is the problem, what's the foundation of the solution? Well, it's built on two ancient pillars, just completely reimagined for our digital age: physical metal and the legal authority of a notary.
This slide shows how the whole concept builds on itself. The role of the notary, or the scribe, is traced back thousands of years. You go from biblical scribes who are all about permanence to civil law notaries capturing legal intent, and now the role evolves again. In this system, they become sovereign node operators. They're that critical human bridge that anchors our sworn intentions to unstoppable machine logic.
And that brings us to this really key legal concept, animus. This isn't just about the words written down on a page. It's the living, sworn intent behind the whole agreement. The entire system is engineered to capture that human element, that animus, and translate it so a machine can read it and execute it. That way, the contract does exactly what everyone intended, with zero ambiguity.
This quote really gets to the core philosophy. Specie, not promises, creates vibrational finality. So what does that mean in plain English? The idea is that when you settle a debt with a real physical asset like silver or gold, you get a kind of closure that a digital promise just can't provide. It's about a finality that's tangible, absolute, something that resonates on every level, cosmic, legal, and economic all at once.
Okay, so we've covered the why. Now let's get into the how. We're going to build this indestructible layer piece by piece so you can see exactly how it all stacks together. Everything starts right here. The whole structure is built on what's called Tier 1 sound money, and that just means physical, tangible assets like gold and silver, held in a secure vault. Not a promise of metal, not a paper certificate, but the actual insured asset. This is the bedrock.
Now, on top of that physical metal, we add the first layer of defense, the insurance wrap. You can think of this as a portable verification layer, almost like a digital shield that travels with every single asset. And what exactly does this shield protect against? Well, this isn't your basic coverage. We are talking about comprehensive, institutional-grade insurance from huge markets like Lloyd's of London. It covers basically everything you can think of, from physical theft and loss to the custodian being negligent or even the entire vault facility failing. The next layer adds an even more powerful level of security, the reinsurance firewall. So if the primary insurance is a shield, think of reinsurance as a global network of fortresses. It takes those catastrophic black swan-type risks and spreads them across a global pool of reinsurers. This ensures that no single event could ever compromise the system.
And here we have the capstone, automated execution. This is handled by what are called Trust Execution and Evidence Systems, or TEES. The best way to think of these are as robot referees. They're programmed with the rules of the contract, and they enforce them automatically. No exceptions. If the insurance is expired or the documents don't match, the system just says nope and refuses to settle the transaction.
So, when you stack all of these layers, sound money at the base, wrapped in institutional insurance, backstopped by global reinsurance, and enforced by automated logic, you get the final product. A transaction that isn't just secure, but is provably final, and, from the viewpoint of its architects, completely unstoppable.
So we've seen how it's built. Now for the really exciting part, what can you actually do with it? Let's look at a couple of examples of how this architecture totally transforms everyday financial stuff. Okay, here's a perfect example, buying a car. The old way is all about your FICO score, right? It traps you in a cycle of consumer debt, where the bank holds all the power. The new way completely flips the script. Your personal credit score? Totally irrelevant. Instead, you use a physical asset, like gold backs, which are just tiny spendable units of gold, as collateral for a business acquisition. All of a sudden, the power shifts from the lender back to you, the owner of the asset.
Now, let's look at a more advanced strategy. This isn't about chasing dollar profits. This is about using the natural volatility of the market to accumulate more physical assets. The silver-oil ratio engine just compares the value of two real-world commodities against each other, like how many barrels of oil can 1 ounce of silver buy right now?
So, let's walk through a trade. An operator starts out with 10 ounces of gold. They decide to make their move when the gold-to-silver ratio is high, which just means silver is pretty cheap compared to gold at that moment.
They execute the swap. Boom! That 10 ounces of gold becomes 770 ounces of silver. So now they're holding a much larger physical quantity of metal.
Then they just wait. When the market shifts and that ratio drops, making silver relatively more valuable, they make the return trade. Their 770 ounces of silver get swapped back into 14.52 ounces of gold.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the payoff. The operator gained 4.52 ounces of free gold. They didn't put in any new cash. They just used strategic timing to increase their physical holdings. And every single step of that transaction was protected by the system's insurance and execution layers. So let's zoom all the way out. What does an architecture like this really mean for the future of value itself? It's a pretty fundamental shift in thinking. This quote really gets to the heart of it. This isn't about creating some new speculative token in the DeFi space. It's about taking the oldest forms of money on Earth, real commodities, and upgrading them with programmable enforcement. It's finance that's grounded in physical reality, but executed with total digital precision. And that leaves us with one final and pretty crucial question. If trust itself can be encoded into a system, and if contracts can enforce themselves automatically without any middlemen or appeals, what does that truly mean for the future of money, of law, and of power?